Step out of the vehicle, now, or I'll drag you out like a dog!" The cop barked, fist slamming the hood, spit flecking her windshield. Seconds later, his body jerked backward, gun spinning from his hand. The woman straightened, sunlight catching silver rank bars. Lieutenant General Helena Cross, veteran of distant wars. Amid the spinning lights and tangled shouts, one misplaced bullet turned a routine stop into a mirror of systemic abuse America kept refusing to recognize or confront. The question hovered like smoke. Could a single gunshot redefine justice, or was this only the opening chapter of a much darker national nightmare? Earlier that evening, the sun dipped behind the tree line, dragging its last gold streak across a worn strip of suburban asphalt. Everything paused between day and night. Cicadas dimmed, quiet spilling over cracked sidewalks. A breeze pushed leaning signposts, dust softening their letters. Like erasing forgotten towns nobody had bothered to remember. Down that empty stretch, a silver sedan cruised smoothly, late sunlight gleaming along its polished sides. Tire hum steady enough to convince anyone peace was permanent. Peace ended with the siren's wail, familiar, never welcome, ripping through the evening like torn fabric. Red-blue strobes splashed violent colors across trunks and quiet houses. A patrol cruiser lunged forward, closing the distance like a hunting dog. Brakes screeched, door flew open, and Officer Logan Ward stepped out. Built thick, mid-40s, his face looked carved from hard years. A broad jaw, deep-set eyes, the smug ease of someone too comfortable wielding unchecked authority under flickering emergency lights. Not the kind of authority that shelters, Helena thought, but the type that cages. Logan needed a target each shift, proof he still controlled something. He flicked a half-smoked cigarette aside, stomped toward the window, already convinced of the story he'd invented. "Nice ride," he drawled. "Kinda out of your league, isn't it?" The glass slid down. Inside sat a black woman in pressed olive uniform, late 40s, posture perfect, eyes calm, expression unreadable, no smile, no visible irritation. "What did you say?" she asked, voice low, grounded, bass cutting through the fading light. The air tightened, invisible rope pulled between them, tension humming. Logan smacked the doorframe, metal ringing sharp. "Out, now, or I'll haul you out myself." It wasn't a suggestion. It was a promise soaked in threat. Helena opened the door deliberately. She stepped out, every movement controlled. Red-blue beams brushed across her uniform, silver epaulets catching light, combat boots landing soundlessly. Logan stalled half a heartbeat. Something in his gut whispered danger, but ego shoved the warning aside. "What's with the costume party?" he sneered, desperate for dominance. Helena Cross didn't bother answering. Her gaze stayed flat, cutting. "You sure you know what you're doing, officer?" she asked, tone almost mild. Experience wrapped in steel. His jaw flexed. "I make the rules out here." The declaration trembled slightly, like a man repeating a line to convince himself it's still true. "Rules," she echoed, head tilting. "Or fear, stitched into a uniform?" Sirens echoed faintly, road stretching behind her, but the real battlefield sat between their eyes. He studied her, woman not flinching, not posturing, just standing steady. That composure cracked his carefully fed illusion of control more than shouting ever could. "I've seen your type," Logan muttered. "Fancy car, smug look. Think you're untouchable." Helena's reply came even. "You're mistaken. I am the law you're abusing." The words hit him sideways, somewhere between shock and a buried recognition he refused to acknowledge. Pride, older than wisdom, stepped in and slammed the door. "This isn't your battlefield," he snapped. "This is my road." "Not yours," she answered quietly. "Belongs to the people you swore to serve. not control. You lecturing me now? He hissed. No, she said. Just reminding you where the line is. The space thickened, lights spinning, engine idling like a distant drum. I've got grounds to arrest you, Logan threatened. You had grounds the second you saw me, Helena replied. Skin, car, my face. That's what triggered you. His fingers twitched near his belt. I don't discriminate. I'm working. Your job, she cut in, isn't terrorizing a woman who hasn't broken any law. She glanced briefly at his chest. Logan, she said. He jolted. He hadn't told her his name. It's on your tag, she added. Do you remember what it means? Rage flared, covering unease. His hand slid toward his holster, breath hot, smelling of nicotine and stale coffee. You think a couple stars scare me? They don't, she answered. But they remind me men like you keep this country in a quiet, endless war against its own people. You threatening me? He demanded. No, Helena said, still pointing at the line. Metal rasped as he cleared leather. Last warning! On your knees! Now! She remained planted, light tracing the silver insignia near her collar. You sure that's the move you want? In her earpiece, a low male voice. Ma'am, armed overwatch ready. She didn't respond aloud, only tilted her head, as though listening to the breeze. 200 yards away. Rifles waited. Logan saw none of it, only her. What game is this? He growled, weapon leveled at her chest. One you're not qualified to play, she said. The cruiser's flag snapped sharply in rising wind. Helena's eyes held the weary clarity of someone who'd survived real war, and knew there were moments when pulling the trigger was the weakest choice. Overwatch whispered again. Ma'am, escalation confirmed, requesting directive. Her gaze never flickered. Inside it, unspoken verdict. Logan had already lost, long before anyone fired a shot. Red-blue beams washed across his sweating face, turning him into a jittering silhouette. Man still convinced he ran the scene while reality quietly abandoned him. He paced around the sedan, boots crunching gravel, circling like a predator trying to break steel resolve. Out here, your rank is worthless, he spat. And your morality, she replied evenly, doesn't seem to exist. The line struck deep, settling heavy in the air. He laughed bitterly. Sounds like one of those speeches for black folks, he emphasized, contempt curling his mouth. Wind brushed strands of hair across Helena's forehead. She didn't react, absorbing the insult like background noise. I'm just describing reality, she said. You're twisting power for yourself. His knuckles whitened around the grip. Who the hell do you think you're talking to? She didn't rush. A man who forgot what that badge used to mean. His laugh came low and wounded, circling the car again, like pacing inside his own cage. I've dealt with every type, he boasted. None dared say that to my face. Maybe they were afraid, Helena replied. I'm not. I've seen worse than you. You threatening me again? He snapped. No, she said. I'm serving notice. He yanked his cuffs free, metal flashing cold. I'll teach you to respect the police. She didn't step back. Her stare met his, clear enough to pull a man inward, if he dared. You're digging your own grave, Logan, she murmured. I said on your knees, he roared, voice cracking. It wasn't command anymore. It sounded like a man begging reality not to expose what he'd become. What are you doing? Helena asked softly, not expecting an answer, only forcing him to hear his own unraveling echoing back at him in the dark. Kneel! He shouted again. Birds exploded off nearby wires, scattering across the dusk sky like sparks. Helena only angled her head, regarding not just him, but his uniform's legacy. Who do you think you are? He screamed. Someone you can't intimidate, she answered. The words cracked his carefully constructed mask of power like thin glass. Logan stepped close, barrel nearly brushing her cheek. Sweat ran down his neck, soaking his collar. Knees, he repeated. But now even he heard the quiver. In her hidden earpiece, over calm static, Overwatch warned, Ma'am, escalation confirmed. Requesting directive. She inhaled slowly. Hold positions. She breathed, a command heavy as lead. Logan still believed he controlled everything. You really think a couple of tin stars matter? He taunted. No, Helena said. I think you're terrified of yourself. What did you say? His voice wobbled. You're shaking, she observed. That's your heartbeat panicking, not mine. His laugh came forced, hands trembling against the gun. Shut your mouth, he snapped. I have that right. And I have the right to speak, she countered. To tell you you turned law into your weapon. You think words change anything? He hissed. No, she said. They just remind you what you lost. Lost what? He barked. Character, Helena answered. Simple, razor clean. Silence tightened, wind humming between vehicles. Paper scraps scuttled across asphalt. Police lights painted their faces, one rigid as forged steel, the other visibly crumbling. He exhaled sharply, raising the gun again. Kneel! Her eyes softened with exhaustion more than anger. Aren't you tired? She asked. Of constantly needing to prove you're dominant? He stepped closer. Shut up! The worst part, she continued, is when you finally see yourself reflected in their fear. His finger tightened on the trigger. She closed her eyes briefly, then tilted her head. From the darkness, 3 crimson laser dots bloomed, centering on his chest. You're standing on your own cliff, Logan, she said quietly. He still hadn't noticed, laughing hollowly. Bringing your little army? The dust swirled, distant shooter whispering. One mistake and we lose her. Helena. Hold. Now. Kneel! He screamed, voice shattering. The 3 dots quivered on his chest. No one spoke. The road seemed to stop breathing, waiting for his next wrong move. He stepped back, weapon still trained on her, unknowingly framed perfectly in every crosshair. Authority, once his armor, now sat like a loaded trap beneath his feet. Night wind slid through, cool against sweat-slicked skin. The siren spun relentlessly, rhythm matching his frantic pulse. Helena never flinched, a fixed point in chaos. You think silence scares me? He growled, but each syllable was brittle. She stayed quiet, her restraint louder than any defense, making his rage feel small. He squeezed the trigger. Only a dry click answered. Empty chamber mocking him. A different gunshot thundered, cleaving the night, his weapon clattering from stunned fingers. Logan staggered, confusion overtaking fury. You ordered them to shoot me, he gasped, pain slicing his words. Helena's hands remained at her sides. I stood still, she replied. Not denial, not confession, fact. The system he'd trusted to shield his excess had judged him instead, acting where her silence refused to play executioner. Blood seeped through his vest, pooling under flashing lights. He tried pressing his hand to the wound, muscles refusing. His knees buckled, body slumping against the cruiser. From the road's edges, soldiers emerged, footsteps synchronized like funeral drums, muzzles dipped downward, faces expressionless. In her earpiece, target neutralized, no civilian casualties. Helena looked down at him. Breath ragged, eyes glassy, lips fumbling around unfinished sentences. You crossed the last line, she said softly, before any bullet touched you. The moment you aimed at who you swore to protect, she added, your power died first. His gaze flickered. Maybe understanding, maybe too far gone to regret. One final breath rattled out, heavy like an unsaid apology. She straightened. Move him to base, she ordered. Protocol unfolded, weapon secured, perimeter swept, body covered. Wind pushed siren light across wet pavement. Where arrogance had stood moments earlier, only a tarp-covered shape remained. Frozen surprise where smug certainty used to live. A young soldier approached. General, should we lock down the road? No, Helena answered, eyes distant. Follow procedure. They moved with practiced motions, but this night felt different. When the scene thinned, she walked to the cruiser to kill the lights. A faint red blink on the dash snagged her attention. Dash cam still recording. She leaned in, watching herself on screen, standing between Logan and unseen shooters, shot cracking, him falling. Camera's still live, ma'am, a soldier noted. Secure it, she said. The final freeze frame, Logan's terrified eyes, burned into memory. "Send the footage for analysis," she ordered, then stopped him from switching it off too soon. She watched longer, not to clear herself, but to remember the inevitable ending of someone who believed badges granted immunity. "That's enough," she murmured. The vehicle carrying his body rolled away. Gravel crunched under tires. She didn't look back. Another officer asked, "The press, ma'am. Release his name?" "Let the file speak," Helena replied. "Names won't fix anything." Her shadow stretched along the asphalt, woven through red-blue reflections, outwardly. Order resumed. Inwardly, she knew the concept of order had just been permanently rewired. Logan lay dead, but the shockwave hadn't peaked. She felt the coming flood. Questions, headlines, edited clips. Truth bent, twisted, weaponized. Still, she believed justice didn't need speeches. A gust slammed the cruiser door open again. She shut it. The dashcam light blinked stubbornly, as if insisting, "I saw everything." The night wasn't finished. Dawn crept in, pale and thin, washing the scene with indifferent grey. Bloodstains dried into dull patches, the road pretending nothing irreversible had happened there. The cruiser was hauled to the precinct, chain of custody routine, paperwork sterile. No one noticed the tiny device still humming, its red dot recording unblinking truth. In evidence review, Lieutenant Owen Hayes, mid-30s, tired eyes, cold coffee, clicked the file open. Expecting another bland stop, he instead watched the night unfold in brutal clarity. Lights spinning, black woman in uniform, cop aiming a gun. 10 seconds later, gunshot, Logan dropping. No edits, no commentary, just raw footage compressing judgment into moments. Owen's stomach tightened. Regulation said submit through official channels. Instinct said something else. Almost without thinking, he dragged the clip, typed, "Army kills local cop," and posted. Within minutes, shares exploded. 10 minutes, thousands of reactions. By midday, every major outlet replayed the clip, each loop breeding more outrage, fear, and hot takes. National broadcast flashed a headline, "Army General shoots police officer." Freeze frame. Helena standing, Logan collapsing. Subheadline crawled, "Black female commander suspected of ordering on-site execution." Lines were drawn instantly. "They killed a cop," one side roared. "Lock her up." The other replied, "He pointed first. She defended herself." Truth drowned beneath shouting. Analysis panels, reenactments, live-stream rants multiplied. It stopped being about one death. It became a proxy battlefield for everything simmering under America's skin. Through the noise, Helena remained deliberately still. Insults didn't scare her. Conspiracy threads barely registered. What chilled her was the silence from those who'd once stood beside her. At Central Command, harsh fluorescent light bounced off a spotless desk. Helena watched the viral clip again, face impassive, television glow carving unfamiliar shadows across her features. The door burst open. A junior officer hurried in. "Ma'am, reporters are swarming the gate. Defense wants a statement." Helena didn't look away. "About what, exactly?" "About Officer Ward's death, ma'am." She finally shut the screen off, straightened her epaulets. "By procedure, I answer to the Federal Committee, not a crowd of microphones." "They're saying silence looks guilty," the officer warned. "Talking wrong sinks the unit." Helena stepped past her, heading toward the noise. Outside, cameras flashed like artillery. "Did you order the shot?" Someone yelled. "Abuse of military power." "Will you resign?" Helena moved slowly, voice steady. "Justice follows a process," she said. "Watch it play out." Inside, the air thickened. General Barrett, her direct superior, waited, disappointment and exhaustion carved into his face. "The whole country's watching," he said heavily. "I know, sir," Helena assured. "And you still say nothing?" "I speak when I have facts," she replied, not to soothe outrage with half-truths. Barrett slammed the table. "The White House called. They see you standing there, cop dead, and demand answers. Did you give the order to fire?" "No, sir," Helena said. "I did not." Then who did? My protection detail, she answered. Under protocol, when an armed threat is identified. Without your signal? I stayed silent, she said. Barrett stared, unsettled. Silence doesn't equal innocence, he muttered. Sometimes silence is complicity, she countered. Rushing judgment is the real crime. That night, her name owned every channel. Anchors asked if she'd overstepped. Retired officers threw labels like rogue commander and dangerous precedent across the screen. Others argued she'd saved herself from a lethal threat. The footage replayed endlessly. Flashing lights, muzzle flash, her still face. Each loop carved deeper divisions. In a southern bar, voices shouted, "Throw her away forever!" Across town, older black women watched quietly, nodding. She did what we're never allowed to do, one whispered. Helena didn't sleep. Desk lamp painted her reflection on dark glass, features blurred. A notification blinked. New internal audio leak. She clicked, breath steadying. Wind, sirens, then her voice, crisp, unmistakable. Fire! She replayed it. Same tone, cadence. Her own voice, weaponized. Yet she knew with absolute certainty she never spoke it. Taylor Rios, her longtime aide, early 40s, steady, burst in, pale. Ma'am, the audio hit the networks. They're calling it proof you gave the command. Source? Helena asked. Allegedly from internal storage. Taylor answered. Only you and security can access that level, which is why they're aiming squarely at you. Honor, order, systems she'd helped build, all shaken by a single falsified word. Outside, chattered fire command trended, every clip and headline orbiting that one syllable. In the emergency briefing, a reporter shouted, "Did you give the kill order?" Cameras blinded her. Helena answered with 4 measured words, "Justice has a process." Behind her, General Barrett watched, not as mentor but as someone deciding whether to cut a sinking rope. That expression told her loyalty had an expiration date. Later, alone, she replayed the recording. "Fire!" Her own voice, surgically spliced. "My voice," she murmured, "but not me." Someone had started a dirty game with no rules. Rain ticked against the window like quiet gunfire. The word echoed in her head, each repetition a deeper cut. She realized this was only opening gambit. The interrogation room upstairs was bright and freezing. Bare walls, cold metal furniture, clock ticking like a metronome counting down to someone's forced confession. Helena sat straight, fingers laced on the table. 2 federal agents faced her, one older, wrinkle-lined, the other younger, distrust sharpened into a permanent squint. The older agent dropped a file onto metal. "Did you give the order to fire?" he demanded, skipping pleasantries. The question swung like a hammer blow. "I remained silent," Helena answered, clear, unhurried. No excuses, no apologies, just the fact she'd repeated on forms and inside her head since that night. He leaned forward. "You call that silence? An officer's dead, video shows you standing there, and audio has you saying fire. Explain that." "I didn't say it," she replied. The younger agent opened a laptop, hit play. Wind, sirens, then her voice. "Fire!" It sounded painfully, impossibly authentic. "That isn't me," she said. AI analysis puts it 97% match, he countered. Tone, breath, rhythm. You expect us to believe someone fabricated it? I expect you to remember analytics aren't truth, Helena said. If someone wanted me gone, they'd absolutely know how to mimic my voice. "So someone framed you?" the older agent scoffed. "Someone staged everything," she replied. "Someone who understands our systems as well as I do. Someone who helped design them." The name surfaced like a ghost. Colonel Adrian Mercer, her former tactical advisor overseas. The man who once said, "We are justice, laws are just suggestions." "Do you have proof?" the younger asked. "Not yet," Helena admitted, "but I'll find it." "Without proof," he warned, "you'll carry this charge alone. Public wants a sacrifice." "Justice isn't a prop," she said. "You can hold me, but I won't confess to something I didn't do, to calm anyone's feed." 10-minute break, the younger agent muttered. They left. Helena stared at the blank space ahead, mind racing through data pathways like battlefield maps. Too many events lined up too perfectly. Leak timing, audio, comtag carrying her ID, not random. This was deliberate strategy, and Adrian's fingerprints were all over it. She remembered a Washington briefing where she opposed expanding covert force authority. Adrian had said, "Power doesn't wait for approval." She'd answered, "Then it isn't justice." Their alliance died that day. Now she saw it hadn't just ended. It had gone underground, re-emerging as the knife currently pressed against her reputation's throat. The door opened again. Taylor slipped in, tension buzzing off him. "They want you as the fall girl," he said quietly. "It'll calm headlines, stabilize everything. If I fall," Helena answered, "truth gets buried with me." Taylor glanced towards the hallway. "I saw a server override from a high-level account. Same clearance as yours." "I know who," she said. "Mercer." Taylor nodded. "He's scrubbing, but nothing vanishes completely." Seconds later, she was in a basement facility, fingers flying over keys. Firewalls blinked red across the monitor. A hidden tool, one she and Adrian had secretly coded years ago, chewed through encryption, unlocking the command archive. "Welcome, General Helena Cross," flashed on screen. She dove into signal logs, scrolling until one entry glowed like a wound. Transmission 2A9 command. Fire user level 5. Source, external encrypted node. Within the alphanumeric chain, 3 letters sparked. MRC01. Mercer. Her jaw clenched. "You arrogant bastard," she muttered. "You signed your own trail." She traced the signal. Timestamp matched Logan's shooting down to the second. "Not random," she whispered. A photo preview popped up, linked to that credentials tag. Click. Adrian and Logan side by side, hands clasped, grinning beneath a banner. "Joint Task Force, Operation Meridian." This was no accident. It was collaboration. She opened a hidden backup folder, shadow copies automatically saved whenever someone tried wiping evidence. Adrian had forgotten she'd insisted on that fail-safe from day one. He'd attempted purge, but lacked the top-tier override she retained. The system refused, freezing a complete snapshot. She launched retrieval. Progress bar crawled upward agonizingly. A warning flashed. User MRC01 logged in. A small icon lit. Adrian active. In system. A message appeared. "Who's in my archive?" She typed, "H. Cross, someone you missed." Pause. Then, "You shouldn't be here," he wrote. She answered, "Neither should Ethan's blood." His reply came colder. "He was reckless. So are you." "What's your plan, Adrian?" she asked. "To erase me or your conscience?" "Conscience is for spectators," he wrote. "You're just the final complication." Screen went red. System purge initiated. She slammed the backup command. Percentages raced 94, 97, 98. Connection died. She yanked the hard drive free, lights flickering out. Darkness swallowed the room. Only the drive's tiny green LED blinked steadily. Evidence heavy in her palm throbbed like a heartbeat. On screen, last message remained burned. "You started a war." She slipped the drive into her inner pocket and shut everything down. Through the dusty window, her reflection overlapped Adrian's old photo, 2 shadows temporarily merging, then parting. "War never ends," she whispered. "It just changes uniforms." Her footsteps echoed through the hallway, each stride carrying both the weight and weapon of truth. That night, in a cramped apartment safehouse, walls thin as paper, Helena sat before another laptop, hard drive attached, files decrypting line by careful line. Street lamps flickered outside, wind seeped through window gaps. Every mouse click sounded like a gavel. Each recovered log was another nail driven into Adrian's carefully built facade. A secure channel request popped up. ID masked, pattern unmistakable, MRC1. Her pulse slowed, not quickened. She clicked accept. Static shimmered, then his face emerged, half in shadow. "Helena," he said, voice smooth, older, smug. "Still loyal to ideas that never protected anyone." "And you," she replied, still loyal to whoever hands you more power. He laughed softly. I don't betray. I choose winners. Logan just needed obedience. You? You're dangerous because you keep believing in something you call justice. She watched the grey smoke curl as he exhaled, making his pixels ghost-like. You're not rewriting history, Helena said. You're editing it with other people's graves. Still dramatic. He smirked. That's why you'll lose. You want clean hands in a world made of mud. You hide in shadows, she answered, afraid of daylight. You killed Logan? She stated. Not because he was foolish, but because he wrecked your script. And you're the final loose page, Adrian replied. Worst mistake you ever made, she said. He leaned back. What do you think you have? A drive? I own the investigation. I have something else, Helena answered. Trust from people who know exactly what you are. Adrian's smile thinned. You sent data, didn't you? To someone you wrote off, she said. A shadow turned spotlight. His image jittered as systems rerouted. You're painting a target on yourself, he warned. The call died. Screen black. Outside, engines roared closer, tires grinding pavement. Floodlights washed across curtains. General Helena Cross, open up! A loudspeaker boomed. Warrant for your arrest! Conspiracy in Officer Logan Ward's death! She touched the drive, exhaling. She peeled the curtain back. Black SUVs ringed the building. Federal agents fanned out, guns lowered, but ready. They weren't enemies, just people doing what they were told. Her fingers tightened around the evidence in her pocket. All right, Adrian, she whispered. You wanted open war. Let's see what happens when truth steps outside. The door crashed in, flashlights flaring. Helena didn't raise her hands in panic, just stood tall. You've got the wrong person, she said, voice clear and steady. Later, in a basement room at federal headquarters, painted institutional beige, she sat at another metal table under another indifferent fluorescent bulb's harsh scrutiny. 3 men in suits entered. Their faces weren't hostile, just practiced blank. The middle one opened a folder stamped classified, gaze heavy when it met hers. General Helena Cross, he began, tone firm but controlled. You're under investigation for allegedly ordering the shot that killed Officer Logan Ward during official duty. She didn't blink. Silence wrapped around her. Not defiance, but the steady calm of someone who'd watched soldiers die and still walked back onto the field. You gave the order, and he died, the lead investigator pressed. What's your defense? She raised her head. I ordered silence, she said. That's not the same. The younger agent scoffed. Silence, he echoed. Millions heard you say fire. Video, audio, public fury. You honestly expect anyone to buy your version? Helena's gaze didn't waver. Ever seen a general issue a battlefield command through a cheap dash mic on a patrol car? The question sliced their narrative cleanly. The young agent's cheeks reddened. His pen tapped once, twice, then stilled. The older man leaned forward. So you're saying someone doctored everything? I'm saying evidence is being manipulated, she replied. Encrypted military commands don't magically hop onto civilian channels without help from inside. Someone above my clearance did that. Who are you accusing? He asked. Her answer came instantly. Colonel Adrian Mercer. The name dropped heavy. One agent glanced at the recording camera, suddenly aware of stakes. You're dragging a senior officer into this with nothing concrete, the young one snapped. What do you think you're playing at? Doing my job, Helena said. If you check deeper logs, she continued, you'll find the fire command sent from an external node tagged MRC01, the same ID Mercer used in special operations. Another agent fetched a supplemental file. Central Archive shows original audio moved to federal storage, then removed, he reported quietly. Override order. Highest level clearance. Override, the lead repeated. Only top brass can manage that. Helena nodded. And besides me, there's exactly one other person holding that clearance. You already know who. The room fell still. They weren't just questioning a suspect anymore. They were skirting the edge of something that could crater trust in every institution above them. "You're playing with fire, General," the lead investigator said. "No," Helena answered, meeting his eyes. "I'm trying to put it out before it burns everything down." Hours later, in a quieter detention room, stale air hanging heavy, Helena sat alone. Footsteps faded outside, leaving only the hum of an aging vent. The door eased open. Taylor slipped inside, laptop and worn folder in hand. 5 minutes, she whispered. "I grabbed night shift to get through security." Helena looked up, eyes still sharp from years of command, but softened by fatigue. "Why risk this?" she asked quietly. Taylor swallowed. "Because a cop like Logan killed my father." Taylor's throat tightened, eyes shining, not from fear, but from grief buried too deep for years. The fluorescent light flickered overhead, buzzing between harsh white and trembling shadow. Helena studied the younger woman's face, already carved by loss. She needed no more explanation. Losing family to unchecked authority was the very war she'd spent decades fighting. This wasn't just a junior officer risking everything for some abstract ideal. It was a wounded soul dragging a buried wound into the open where no statute had ever reached. "Then we go after justice," Helena said, voice grounded. "Not begging, but declaring. Not for my name, for your father, and everyone like him." Taylor nodded, jaw set, and opened the laptop. Pale blue light washed over them, turning the cramped room into a bunker. 2 women, cut off from the world, waging a digital war against ghosts in the wiring. "I cloned part of the security logs," Taylor said. "But to verify everything, we need the federal core servers. If they catch us, I lose my career," Helena added quietly. "Or worse." Taylor's faint smile carried resignation. She'd accepted those stakes long before stepping in. Silence lingered. Then Helena gave a small nod. "Start." No speech, no hesitation, just action. Taylor's fingers flew, summoning cascading terminals. Streams of green code poured down like digital rain, each packet stamped with coordinates, timestamps, invisible paths of truth and deception. She halted at the segment from the night of the shooting. "Here," she whispered, pointing. The fire command came from a secondary node, not military. Encrypted IP, but there's a fingerprint. Helena leaned closer. At the end of the string, a label appeared. MRC Backup 1. Her lungs tightened. "Mercer's backup server." She breathed. Taylor pulled another trace, color draining from her face. "He routed it through backup credentials instead of his primary account," Taylor said. "And the timestamp lines up exactly with the moment Logan went down. That's not an accident." Highlighted line glowed like a verdict. 2214-36. Command, fire, user, MRC backup 01. Helena stared at the time, silence thickening, then whispered, "Adrian pulled the trigger himself." "Are you sure you want this?" Taylor asked, voice shaking. "Once we push it out, he'll know. Security will flag us in minutes. We're out of options." Helena answered. "Justice only breathes when somebody's willing to bleed for it." Taylor looked at her, no longer seeing a detainee, but the commander who'd walked through hell and returned with her compass intact. "Then let's move," Taylor said. She launched an encrypted upload, sending a mirrored dataset to an external staging server. The bar crawled. 30%, 52, 77. A red warning sliced across the screen. "Unauthorized access detected. Security countermeasures engaged." Sirens shrieked, red strobes flooding the room. "They've got us!" Taylor shouted, ripping out the cable. Helena sprang up. "He's watching live," she said. Taylor hammered keys, scrambling their trail. "He'll lock onto this machine's ID." "Give it here," Helena ordered, sliding into the chair. Her hands blurred over the keyboard, scooping every recovered file into a local drive, slamming shut trace routes. The monitor went black, replaced by a blood-red notice. "User MRC01 has detected activity." Taylor's breath hitched. "He knows it's us." Helena actually smiled. "Then he'll have to hear me." She fired off a counter-trace, Cyberwar's version of a returned punch. A map snapped open, a red dot pulsing at an old Northern Reserve installation, Mercer's former posting. Alarms blared louder, doors clanking as locks engaged, heavy boots pounding toward them. "We're sealed in," Taylor whispered. "No," Helena answered. "We just grabbed a ghost by the ankle." They locked eyes. Taylor shoved the drive into Helena's jacket. Helena kicked off a final upload to a foreign server Mercer couldn't touch. The bar crawled 87, 94, 100. "Backup secure," flashed on screen. As the door exploded inward, armed soldiers flooded the room. Taylor was yanked into cuffs. Helena slammed into the table. Under pulsing red, she stared straight into the camera lens. The hunt had reset, and Mercer wasn't the hunter anymore. Moonlit desert stretched like silver stone. A military truck roared through the heat-rippled dark, trailing dust. Helena gripped the wheel, eyes locked on the flickering sat-map's crimson route. The signal arrow pointed southwest toward an abandoned Arizona relay station. In the passenger seat, Taylor's headset crackled as she tracked it. "He's moving fast, using a military transport," she said. "Signals coming from the auxiliary data hub, 40-plus miles out." Helena tilted her head. "That used to be my sector." Far ahead, the station's faint glow shimmered against sand and rock. Training days flashed through her mind. Comrades who'd died protecting the integrity of those networks. Places once symbolizing loyalty now turned into sanctuaries for treachery. "If he served under you?" Taylor asked quietly. "What does he do when cornered?" "He fights," Helena replied. "Not for a cause, for his ego." She floored the accelerator. Half an hour later, the signal froze. The facility rose from the desert like a half-buried tomb. Concrete husks, shattered antennas jutting skyward like rusted spears. Taylor scanned with binoculars. "Military truck parked outside. He's alone." Helena eased their speed. "Open internal channel." Static, then Adrian's voice slithered through. "Knew you'd come, Helena. You never quit mid-war." "You here to scrub evidence?" she asked. "Or hide from it?" His laugh echoed. "I'm here to prove you never deserved the word justice. Saving honor or burying it." "I'm here to end your counterfeit version of justice," she answered. Silence. Then his lecturing tone returned. "You still worship a system already rotting, General. I'm just cleaning the infection." "By spilling other people's blood?" Helena shot back. "You call that discipline?" "Ego's a disease," he said. "Logan was weak, rust in the machine. I cut him loose, that's all." Her knuckles tightened around the wheel. "You amputated your soul with him." He chuckled once more and killed the signal. Helena parked a few 100 meters out, killed headlights. Taylor flicked her safety off, eyes searching. "What's the play?" "He knows the layout. There's an escape tunnel under the station," Helena said. "We split angles. I go in. You overwatch. If I'm silent 10 minutes, you push everything we've got." Taylor wanted to argue, but Helena's stare ended the idea. 10 minutes. Taylor agreed. Helena holstered her sidearm and stepped into the night. Sand hissed under her boots. Wind dragged the smell of rust and old circuitry across the open ground. The station's door hung crooked, groaning as she eased it open. Inside, shadows swallowed the hallways, broken only by the bluish glow of a lone monitor. It hummed like a dying heart. Her footsteps echoed off bare concrete. "Remember this place?" A voice called from the dark. "Your first posting. I kept your old reports. Loyalty isn't obedience, it's fidelity to an oath." Pretty sentence. "And you twisted that oath into a weapon to excuse murder," Helena replied, tone freezing. Adrian stepped from the shadows. Same uniform, insignia stripped, pistol leveled at her chest. "Everything I did was for the service," he said. She didn't move. "No, you did it for yourself. You crave control, not order. Control preserves order." He shot back. "You give deadly commands and dress them in prettier words." "Maybe," she allowed, "but I don't sacrifice innocence to cover my cowardice." Their eyes locked. Once comrades under one flag, now divided into accuser and accused. "So what does your justice prove?" he asked. "A bullet or another speech?" "It's already proving itself," she answered. "Your hands are trembling." He hesitated, then forced a ragged laugh. "Misreading me, Helena," but the faint shake betrayed him. Blue glow caught her rank, turning her silver into a blade of light. "Let's finish this," he whispered. You're choosing violence, Helena said. That's what men do when they've already lost the argument. His mouth curled as he squeezed the trigger, muzzle flash erupting white. But the shot didn't land. Adrian lurched backward, screaming, clutching his shoulder as blood soaked his sleeve. Outside, Taylor exhaled, rifle lowering. Status? She asked through comms. Good shot, Helena said, watching him drop to one knee. You can hit me, Adrian snarled. But you can't stop me. The infrastructure's still mine. He staggered toward a hatch. Don't! She warned. You won't make it. Escape, he rasped. I don't need escape. Just one move ahead. He tossed a smoke grenade. White haze swallowed the room. When it cleared, only an open tunnel remained. Taylor rushed in, breath ragged. He's gone! Helena studied the dark passage. It's fine. He's bleeding. He'll mark his own route. Where does he run? Taylor whispered. Where he feels invincible, Helena replied. Washington. Moonlight sharpened her features. He wants to erase me from the record. I'll erase his shadow instead. Wind howled, swirling sand around them. In the distance, a helicopter spun awake, rotor blades chopping the night. Helena watched its blinking lights, lips pressed into a hard line. This isn't over, she murmured. It's just moving fronts. Wounded predators bite hardest. Taylor's eyes held equal parts dread and trust. What now? The last thing he expects, Helena said. The helicopter's sound faded into sky. In Helena's gaze, a fire still burned, smaller, sharper, lighting the path from the desert to the capital, where truth would confront the myth of order. Arizona's morning never fully brightened. Wind blew cold, dragging dust and gasoline fumes past the abandoned compound. Inside a temporary office, Taylor sat at a desk, hands shaking. She powered her laptop, waiting for the external drive to appear. Instead, no device detected. Panic surged. She yanked open the drawer. The hard drive's compartment was empty. The door creaked. Helena entered, coat streaked with sand, eyes sharpened by exhaustion. Report. Taylor spun, pale. The drive. It's gone. Someone took it while I slept. A heavy moment passed. Helena stepped closer, fingers clenching the chair. He's trying to silence us again. Taylor swallowed. I locked the door. Only I had a key. Then someone else has one, Helena said, gaze lifting to the corner camera. She pulled up the feed, only static and smears. This wasn't a break-in. It was an authorized ghost. The footage is wiped, she muttered. He walked through the system, not the hallway. Taylor whispered, Mercer. Helena nodded faintly, then opened a tracking interface on Taylor's machine. The drive's tagged with a satellite chip, she said. If he hasn't ripped it yet, we still own a trail. Coordinates appeared, a red dot racing north. Got you, Helena murmured. Black SUV northbound on Highway 91, she said. Taylor's nerves frayed. What are you going to do? Take justice back, Helena answered, eyes cold. She tossed her ID on the table. Lock this door. Don't open for anybody, even if they know your name. You're going alone? Taylor called. This one's mine, Helena replied, slamming the door behind her. The desert highway unspooled endlessly. Early sun turned sand to molten gold. Helena's Jeep engine roared, speedometer needle flirting with the edge. On the windshield, the red dot stayed ahead. Through binoculars, the SUV resolved. Dark windows, blacked-out plate. She thumbed her comm. Visual contact, 2 clicks out. Only engine noise answered. She pressed the accelerator harder. The road arrowed straight, sand whipping around her. The SUV twitched, like it felt eyes on its back. In her mirror, she caught a brief glimpse of the driver's profile. Familiar. Distance shrank to car lengths. Suddenly, the SUV swerved onto a rough side route into low hills. Helena followed, tires grinding rock, dust erupting around her like battlefield smoke. The SUV screeched to a stop in open terrain, engine idling, hood steaming. Helena braked 10 meters away, stepped into heat and dust, hand hovering near her sidearm. The driver's door opened. A tall man stepped out. Police shirt, black tactical vest, badge worn and dulled. He turned. It was Sergeant Cole Miller, once Logan's loyal subordinate. General Helena Cross in person, he drawled. Didn't think you'd chase your own execution notice. She stayed still.
You running errands for Mercer now?
He shrugged. I run for whoever pays.
And justice?
She asked. Justice doesn't fund pensions, he scoffed. Sun glared off metal, making the air shimmer.
You even know what's on that drive?
Helena said. Enough to bury you, he answered. Harris, Mercer, said it'll save the whole framework from collapse. Turn you into the villain they need. You believe that more than you believed your friend Logan? She asked. He was my partner. Miller snapped. You murdered him. Logan aimed at me, she replied, and he died from a shot Adrian ordered. That drive proves it. You're lying, Miller muttered. Then why is he so desperate to keep it? She countered. He's not saving the system, he's lighting it with gasoline. He drew his gun. Nice speech, he said. But I was trained to know talkers don't live long. Helena's breath came slow. You sure you want to pull that trigger, Sergeant? You're gonna kill another cop, he sneered. If that's how you keep justice alive. The public isn't here, she answered softly. Just me, you, and whatever's left of your conscience. His hands trembled. Sweat streaked down his temple. She stepped closer. You think Adrian protects you? You're just a stepping stone. Same as Logan. He wouldn't, Miller protested, weaker. Call him, Helena said. Ask your savior. He dialed with shaking fingers. 1 ring, 2, then nothing. No answer, no voicemail. He cut you loose already, she said quietly. Fear replaced anger in his eyes. He stared at the drive, then back at her. You want it? Take it! Set it down, Helena ordered. Slowly. He crouched, leaving the drive in the sand. As he rose, he snapped his gun up again. Helena twisted aside. The shot tore past her, hot wind kissing her cheek. She fired low, a warning burst biting into dirt at his feet, spraying sand. Drop it, she said, not loud, but with a gravity that shrank the space between them. You won't shoot, he insisted. Nation will roast you if another cop dies on your watch. Nation isn't here, she replied, but whatever's left of justice is watching. His arm shook harder. Sunlight turned his sweat to glistening lines. Adrian will fix this, he muttered. You're already erased from his plan, Helena said. Logan, anyone inconvenient? Rage drained away. Only panic remained. He lowered the weapon slightly, eyes flicking toward the drive. Don't, she warned. He hesitated, then the gun slipped from his grasp. The weapon skidded over sand. Helena approached, scooped the drive, brushed grit off the metal casing. Morning light flashed off its surface, a thin, fragile glint of possibility. Miller wheezed on his knees. You'll lose, he rasped. Mercer's bigger than you know. Maybe, Helena said, still staring at the drive. But I never fought to win. I fight to end. Wind rose, bringing the smell of hot metal, dust, and blood. She turned away, leaving him behind with empty hands and a future he'd have to answer for alone. In the distance, the sun climbed higher, painting ridges in pale gold. Harsh light, but a promise that the night of lies would eventually exhaust itself. By the Arizona border, morning sky shifted toward pale blue. Helena returned to the temporary base, dust streaking her face, dried blood staining her shoulder, the reclaimed drive in her hand. Inside, steel doors parted. Taylor rushed toward her, eyes bloodshot. You actually got it back! Helena nodded, setting the drive onto the table, scratched metal catching fluorescent gleam. Intact, she said. Now we see what he hid. Taylor plugged it into her laptop. File trees exploded onto the screen. Videos, recordings, suppressed reports stamped, restricted. She scrolled through rows of locked clips. Some bore police case codes, internal tags. Helena watched, jaw tightening. The first video opened. Static. Then a white officer pinning a black teen. Logan's voice came cold and unmistakable. Broke and black. Who cares? Taylor slapped a hand over her mouth, tears rising. Helena's gaze hardened, every muscle in her face tightening. More clips rolled. Brutal arrests, unnecessary shootings, bodies motionless though they'd never raised a hand. Each file was a sealed confession the system had outlawed. How many lives disappeared into their swagger? Helena murmured. Taylor stammered. Why would Adrian keep all this? Not to preserve, Helena said. To blackmail. Insurance against anyone turning on him. She opened a folder labeled Command Sync. Inside, audio from strategy sessions between Adrian and Logan. Adrian's voice. Do it. Call it joint training. With army backing, no one questions. He weaponized the uniform to shield local brutality. Helena said. Another file. Lists of names, ranks, device IDs. Over 50 officers across several states tied into Mercer's private network. A note read, Secured cover via defense grants. Legal fund embedded. Helena read each line aloud, voice tight. Logan? Miller. Others dead. All cogs in Adrian's personal machine. If this goes public, Taylor whispered, it'll detonate the country. Exactly, Helena replied, palm resting atop the drive. That's why he framed me. He isn't afraid of guilt, only exposure. Where do we send it? Taylor asked. Federal Oversight Committee, Helena said. Only sector he hasn't fully poisoned yet. Taylor encrypted, began upload. The progress bar inched painfully. At 90%, the signal sputtered. A warning flashed. Firewall interference detected. Taylor's face went white. He's jamming us! Helena squeezed her shoulder. Stay on it. I routed a backup. She activated an old military satellite link, one from distant operations. After a tense pause, the connection locked. The bar jumped to 100. Upload complete. Oversight server, the screen declared. Taylor exhaled shakily. It's out. He can't stuff this back in. Helena nodded, eyes distant. Now he knows, and he'll move. Seconds later, red emergency lights flared. Alerts flooded the screen. Mechanical voice droned. Security breach detected. Unauthorized data export. Taylor whispered. He traced it. Helena rose, face carved in steel. Good. Now he must come into the light. The door slammed open. A senior officer Helena recognized from closed-door briefings strode in, folder clutched tight, panic and anger wrestling in his expression. General Cross, he snapped. You just transmitted classified material off network. Do you realize what you've done? Ensured the truth can't be erased. Helena replied. That's all. You're toying with the entire institution, he said. You could drag the command into freefall. If justice lives at the bottom, she answered, then I'll meet it there. He recoiled half a step. You're burning your own career. No, she said slowly. I'm salvaging whatever honor we have left. Behind her, Taylor watched, understanding the irreversible line being crossed. Harris, Mercer won't let this slide, Taylor whispered. No, Helena agreed, calm. But he can't hide now. Every lens has him in frame. Sirens wailed. New alerts pinged from the federal network. Message from Defense Department, Taylor said. Read it, Helena ordered. Text scrolled. First sentence made both women freeze. Acting Domestic Operations Chief Adrian Mercer issues federal warrant for General Helena Cross, charged with treason. He just labeled you an enemy of the state, Taylor choked. Helena closed her eyes for a heartbeat, then opened them. Fire reset. I've been shot, exiled, threatened, never called traitor. We have to run, Taylor said. No, Helena replied. We keep pushing. She gripped the door handle. He thinks he wins by owning the narrative. History remembers whoever's still standing. She stepped into howling wind. Smoke and sirens rode the air. Silver rank flashed red under emergency strobes. Taylor watched her go, tears in her eyes, realizing there was no way back. In orbit, defense satellites updated their feeds. Helena's name propagated through security grids nationwide, tagged beside a single chilling designation. Treason. Priority capture. The alert chimed again. Mercer's order had gone live. General Helena Cross, once decorated, now officially the most hunted figure in the country's security apparatus. News reacted like lightning. Breaking banners screamed, General Cross indicted for treason! Anchors delivered lines with detached gravity, as if narrating a verdict written before facts. Her image looped. Desert standoff, dashcam freeze frames, courthouse footage, until viewers were exhausted, yet strangely numb. In cafes and kitchens, people debated a woman they'd never meet. Some parroted traitor like scripture. Others watched in silence, wary. Panels of experts and ex-officials filled screens, shouting over each other, ratings climbing with every accusation. Online, the split sharpened. One camp demanded justice for Logan, painting Helena as a rogue general who shattered blue line solidarity. The other resurrected a hashtag, #Justice for Helena. Clips previously leaked by Taylor resurfaced, threaded with questions about the origin of the fire audio and why so many records around Logan's career had mysteriously vanished. Pressure built. Mercer staged a press conference beneath agency insignia. Cameras crowded, lights blazing. He stepped up, polished, stoic, projecting calm authority. "No one stands above the law," he intoned. "Not officers, not generals. We act solely to protect national security. Sabotage of our systems cannot be tolerated." He sounded like a guardian. But under the smoothness, his tone carried something colder, like a man burning a house to extinguish someone else's candle. Public reaction roared, but a quieter stream emerged. People who'd suffered under Logan's patrols began posting. Videos of traffic stops, bruises, clipped audio of insults, names, dates, neighborhoods, pieces of a buried pattern forming. Nothing fancy, shaky phone footage, choked testimony. Enough to rattle anyone, still trying to believe every badge moved with clean hands. Questions multiplied faster than Mercer's statements. Taylor, refusing to disappear, uploaded a crystal-clear clip. Logan beating a young black man. His laughter echoed, followed by that same vile line, "Black broke, who's counting?" The video spread like wildfire. Viewers watched Logan's face twist with cruelty, heard contempt instead of service. That sentence landed like a match in a warehouse of dry anger. People started asking not just how he died, but why this footage had stayed hidden, and who had decided the public should never see it. Outrage shifted shape. Now it wasn't just about a fallen officer. It was about a structure that let him operate unchecked, and then tried to canonize him after the fact. Mercer felt the ground tilt. In a secure control room, he snapped, "Purge every instance, kill distribution." Tech's hands shook as they throttled streams, locked feeds, pressured outlets to halt. It was a blackout maneuver, but the modern information battlefield had too many side doors. Social platforms became trenches, and in that space, his authority wasn't absolute. Helena sat alone in a small safe room, an old base radio hissing static. Through the noise, a news anchor repeated her name and the word treason like an incantation. She rested a hand on the receiver. "You've already lost, Adrian," she murmured. Not triumph, just a quiet acknowledgement that the fight had slid somewhere he couldn't micromanage anymore. She chose to step forward instead of hiding. With Taylor and a handful of trusted allies, she planned to appear at the public hearing, fully aware she might be arrested on sight. If she stayed away, Mercer's story would become history. If she showed up, the truth had a chance to speak with its own voice, even if shackled. On the drive into D.C., she saw hand-painted signs, brief embraces, tearful nods. One kid held a cardboard scrap scrawled, "Seek justice." Another speaker shouted, "Justice for Helena!" Crowds were divided, but something fundamental had shifted. Screens no longer owned the entire narrative. Still, tension hung thick. Threats circulated. Security tightened around the courthouse. Mercer's camp labeled Helena's supporters extremists, smearing them as agitators undermining national stability. Some peeled away, afraid, not all. A sharp-edged resolve remained in many eyes. Then a call reached Helena's legal team's private line. She answered. A calm, deep voice. "If you walk into that hearing, someone dies." No explanation, no bargaining, just a promise. Her chest tightened, but resolve burned hotter. She set the phone down, looked around the room. "They think they can scare me," she said. "They forgot I'm familiar with bullets." Outside, sirens moaned. Protesters pressed at barricades. All lenses pointed at the courthouse entrance. As Helena approached, microphones thrust forward, questions flying like thrown knives. She adjusted her coat, stepped to a podium, and spoke over the roar. "I will walk into that court. I will testify under oath. Let the truth stand on record. If anyone wants to hide behind the dead to shield their lies," she added, "be ready to face history." The crowd went quiet for a suspended minute. Those words cut like both spark and vow. A collision was inevitable. The threat still lingered, a dark hand poised over the days unfolding. Night before the hearing, Helena sat alone, lamplight reflecting off worn silver on her shoulders. She thought of the fallen, of Taylor, of the drives crammed with difficult truth. She understood stepping forward could trigger more violence, but if no one stepped at all, innocent blood would keep vanishing into sealed files and forgotten case numbers. She rose, gazed out the window at clusters of supporters holding vigil. Voices and chants blended into a low hum. Her heart was steady, the earlier phone threat replayed in her mind. She clenched her fist and moved toward Dawn. The words wouldn't leave her. If you show up, someone dies. She carried them like a weight she refused to drop. Washington morning arrived cold and heavy. Federal columns loomed, flags snapping in the wind. Mist clung to stone steps as crowds gathered, chanting, arguing, waiting. One side shouted, "Lock her up!" Another hoisted signs, "Justice for Helena." Inside, corridors choked with cameras and microphones. Reporters swarmed like a tide as Helena walked flanked by security. Her uniform was immaculate, hair pulled back tight. Silver rank reflected every flash. Each step sounded like a drumbeat echoing off the chamber walls. The hearing room opened onto a packed arena of faces. Press benches teemed, every camera aimed at the witness chair. Across the aisle, Adrian sat, dark suit, expression carefully composed. He rose as she entered, extending a hand like a cordial colleague. "Been a while, General Cross," he said smoothly. She didn't take it. "We're not allies anymore, Colonel. Allegiances follow the winning side," he replied. The gavel cracked. Silence dropped. "This hearing on the joint incident between military and police is now called to order," the chair announced. Adrian stepped to the prosecutor's lectern, file in hand. "General Helena Cross," he said, voice ringing. "You ordered fire on an on-duty officer resulting in his death. Do you admit it?" Cameras swung to her. Helena lifted her chin. "I ordered discipline maintained," she said. "I gave no kill order." The press bench rippled. Adrian's smile barely twitched. "Discipline," he repeated. "A police officer lies dead, and you call that discipline?" "Do you call aiming a weapon at a general part of his job description?" she countered. "Don't muddy the waters," he said. "We're discussing commands, not courtesy." "Then let them hear the command you claim I gave," she replied. He nodded. A tech tapped a key. Speakers crackled. Then a crisp female voice echoed, "Fire!" The single word bounced off every surface. Murmurs surged. Adrian turned, feigning regret. "Your voice, isn't it, General?" She waited, then said evenly, "Here's the interesting part, Colonel. Only 3 people can erase server logs. You're one of them." His posture stiffened before he forced a laugh. "Are you accusing me of fabricating evidence?" "Not accusing," she answered. "Stating." The room erupted. Whispers, clicking keys, flashing bulbs. The gavel hammered. "Order!" Adrian's smile thinned. "Proof?" he demanded. "Yes," another voice answered. All heads turned. Taylor strode in, pale but steady, carrying a metal-encased drive. Adrian froze. Taylor placed the drive near the display, plugged it in. "This is the unaltered record," she said. Text scrambled. The screen flickered to life. Footage showed Adrian in a dim room, typing, "Command, fire, override user channel." Audio followed, his voice low and clear. "Reroute signal. Confirm deletion." The room detonated in noise. Reporters stood, shouting. Officials stared, stunned. The presiding officer banged the gavel. "Order! Order in this chamber!" Adrian stared at the screen, cheeks draining of color. "Where did you get that?" he growled. "From your own backup protocols," Taylor replied. Helena stayed seated. "You trusted your override access and forgot the system auto-archives emergencies." "You think this sinks me?" Adrian barked. "You're tearing down the institution!" "No," Helena said. "I'm trying to keep it from rotting completely." The judge turned, voice grave. "Colonel Mercer, do you have an explanation?" Sweat beaded along Adrian's brow. I did it to protect the military. If she fell, the public would turn on us. I preserved belief." "By killing an officer and framing a general?" Helena cut in. "You dragged the whole command into your cover-up and dare call it duty." "You don't understand what I sacrificed!" he shouted. "Order!" the judge roared. But Adrian was spiraling, eyes darting over the sea of horrified faces, realizing the narrative had slipped out of his hands. Suddenly he reached into his jacket, yanking out a handgun. The movement was lightning fast. Screams erupted. "Drop it!" Taylor yelled. Adrian's eyes were wild, weapon trembling. "She betrayed her!" he shouted. Helena didn't flinch. Gaze locked on him. "Put it down, Adrian. Don't complete the transformation you claim to despise." He barked a broken laugh. "I'm already there." The hammer clicked. Chaos detonated. Guards lunged. The live broadcast cut to a signal lost banner nationwide. Outside, sirens wailed. Crowds roared questions. No one knew what was unraveling inside marble walls. Inside, smoke drifted. People shoved, cameras toppled. Adrian still stood at the corridor's end, gun in hand. Helena's voice cut through the chaos. "End it, Adrian, but with the truth, not more bullets." A camera caught that single moment. Then a gunshot cracked like splitting stone. For a heartbeat, everything stopped. Then pandemonium, chairs overturning, people ducking, bursts of flash overwhelming the scene. Helena moved on instinct, throwing herself between the blast and Taylor. A bullet carved a line across her arm, blood spraying the wall in a crimson arc. Metal clanged. Voices screamed about a shooter. Guards converged as smoke and fear filled the air. Outside, the world waited, unaware that justice had just survived another impossible second. Lesson 1. Power without accountability will always come for the vulnerable. If you are in your 60s, 70s, or beyond, you have watched this country change more times than you can count. You remember when police cruisers didn't carry cameras, when news came from 3 television channels and the morning paper, not from 1,000 shouting voices on a phone screen. The story of Lieutenant General Helena Cross, a black woman in her late 40s pulled over on a quiet suburban road, is not just about one bad traffic stop. It is about what happens when power forgets who it is supposed to serve. That evening, Officer Logan Ward didn't see a decorated veteran who had survived foreign wars. He saw a target. He saw dark skin, a nice car, and a woman he believed he could bully with no consequences. Many of you have seen that look before. The tight jaw, the curling lip, the way a man leans into authority like it's a weapon instead of a responsibility. Some of you have felt it firsthand, at a roadside stop, or in a government office, being talked down to because of where you live, what you look like, or how much money you seem to have. Helena did what many elders have done in their own way. She stood her ground, without screaming, without flinching, without forgetting who she was. Her rank bars caught the flashing red-blue lights, but Logan could not see past his own anger. He turned his badge into armor for his pride. In that moment, he crossed a line older Americans know too well. The moment when authority stops protecting the vulnerable and starts protecting itself. It took a single shot from her Overwatch team, a bullet she never ordered, to end Logan's spiral. But his death did not end the story. Instead, it exposed something larger, a system willing to twist the truth to protect itself. In the days that followed, headlines painted Helena as the aggressor, a rogue general who supposedly ordered an execution. The dashcam, the body on the asphalt, the angry officer, these were not isolated images. They were mirrors showing us what happens when power is not bound tightly to accountability. For many of you who remember the civil rights marches, the struggle to integrate schools, or the anger after Rodney King, Helena's story is painfully familiar. The lesson is not new, but it is urgent. Power without real oversight will always, sooner or later, turn on the very people it claims to defend. Whether that power wears a blue uniform, a military patch, or a suit and tie behind a polished podium, it must answer to something higher than its own comfort. If it does not, the next routine stop can easily become another national wound. Lesson 2. Silence, whether from fear or strategy, is never neutral. Older Americans know the cost of speaking up and the cost of keeping quiet. Many of you grew up in homes where you were taught not to make trouble, even when you saw something wrong. You watched neighbors whisper about injustices no one dared mention in public. Over time, you learned that silence can feel safe, but it can also feel like a stone in your chest. Helena Cross wrestled with silence from the moment the gunshot echoed across that road. She refused to shout at the cameras or offer the quick, emotional confession they craved. Instead, she kept saying the same steady sentence, "Justice has a process." To some, her calm looked like arrogance. To others, it looked like wisdom. But when a falsified audio clip surfaced, her voice, doctored to say the single word, fire, silence became a trap. Helena watched as powerful figures used her supposed silence as proof of guilt. They said, if she were innocent, she would speak more. If she were honest, she would apologize. Yet many of you know that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is refuse to confess to a lie. Even when everyone demands a performance, public apologies are often just theater, and quiet integrity can be mistaken for defiance. At the same time, Helena knew that too much silence lets corruption grow. Her former ally, Colonel Adrian Mercer, had turned their shared systems into his private cover-up machine. He moved commands, scrubbed logs, framed her with falsified orders, and used the dead body of Logan Ward as a shield. If she stayed quiet forever, his version of the story would become the official history, written in court records and news archives long after today's headlines faded. So she chose a different path, one many elders will recognize. She spoke, but not on the terms demanded by those in power. She spoke through evidence, through a younger aide named Taylor, who risked her career, through hard drives pulled from dusty servers. She did not scream over the crowd. She laid out the truth, even when it cut deeply into institutions she still cared about. The lesson is clear: silence is never neutral. Sometimes it protects you for a season. Sometimes it protects the abuser forever. The hard work, especially for those who have seen many seasons come and go, is deciding when our silence is wise, and when it becomes complicity. Lesson 3. In a world of deep fakes, truth needs guardians. If you grew up in the era of rotary phones and evening news, today's world of edited clips, fake audio, and viral outrage may feel like a foreign country. Stories no longer arrive slowly, with time to think. They explode on screens in seconds, and by the time the facts catch up, millions of minds have already been made. Helena's battle was not only on that roadside or in a marble-walled hearing room. It was fought in the invisible highways of data and code. Someone used advanced technology to forge her voice. Someone edited video to show her as a cold executioner while hiding the trembling hand of the officer who pointed a gun at her chest. Someone used their clearance not to protect the nation, but to protect themselves from accountability. You remember rumors that spread by word of mouth, pamphlets that lied, politicians who bent the truth long before social media ever existed. The tools are new. The temptation is not. But the danger is sharper now, because lies can be dressed up with perfect sound and picture, and because fear and anger travel at the speed of a tap on a screen. Helena refused to surrender the idea that truth can be proven, not just believed. Working with Taylor, she dug into logs, traced hidden commands, and followed digital footprints the way detectives once followed tire tracks. They uncovered video of Logan's past abuses, records of Mercer's secret network, and the very moment he typed the fire order and tried to erase it. When that evidence finally reached a public hearing, it did more than clear Helena's name. It reminded the country that, even in an age of deep fakes and divided screens, facts still matter. But facts do not float into the open by themselves. They need guardians, people willing to do the slow, patient work of checking, questioning, and refusing to let the first version of the story be the last. Many of you in your later years read, watch, and talk with children and grandchildren about what is happening. Your wisdom, your questions, and your refusal to be easily fooled are more valuable than ever. Conclusion: the legacy of what we choose to defend. In the end, Helena Cross was called many things: traitor, hero, troublemaker, guardian. Those labels will rise and fall with the next news cycle. But her story leaves every older American with a harder question. What kind of justice are we willing to defend? And what kind of power are we willing to challenge? You have lived through wars, assassinations, scandals, and movements for rights that once seemed impossible. You know that progress is never a straight line. Helena's stand, on that lonely road and before that hostile committee, shows it is never too late to insist on truth and demand accountability. You may not wear a uniform, but your conversations, your vote, and your stories still shape this country. Justice depends not only on the young and strong, but also on elders who refuse to look away. Like Helena, you can stand at the line between fear and fairness, and quietly keep the door open for a more honest America. Friends, after hearing Helena Cross's story, the traffic stop that turned deadly, the false fire order, and the long fight to uncover the truth, I'd love to hear from you. In your lifetime, have you ever seen power abused and then watched people try to rewrite what really happened? What did you do, or what do you wish you had done? Share your experiences and reflections in the comments so we can learn from one another. And if this message spoke to you, please like the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and turn on the bell so you don't miss future stories and lessons.